Friends enter the world of a nightmare where the veil between reality and horror is paper thin. Laurie Vallow Daybell, known as the Doomsday Mum, has become a symbol of fear, loathing, and disgust. The haunting details of her alleged involvement in the disappearance of her two children, JJ Vallow, aged 7, Tylee Ryan, aged 16, have sent chills down the spines of those who have followed the case. And the mystery deepens as we discover the connections to the strange deaths of her former spouses. But today, I'm going to explain the why. Many of you have been following the case, many of you are probably watching the trial or following the trial, but today I'm going to explain the why. Many other, far better, more knowledgeable creators have told you the story. I'm going to go through the story, but I have 5 reasons why I think she did this. I think I have her figured out. So stay tuned, but I need one quick favor. Follow me on Facebook. I need to get 5,000 followers on there. Link is in the description. Thank you for your consideration. Now, before the shadows descended upon the Vallow family, there was a time when everything seemed perfect. You know, the usual white picket fence, beautiful children, and a too good to be true couple. Laurie Vallow was a loving wife to her businessman husband, Charles Vallow. They welcomed Tylee Ryan, Laurie's daughter from a previous marriage, into their home. And more than that, they were overjoyed to adopt JJ Vallow, the grandson of Charles' sister. JJ, who had autism, found a caring mother in Laurie, who friends described as patient and nurturing. The family seemed to be a tight-knit unit, with Tylee assuming the role of a loving big sister to JJ. Unlike anything and everything in the world, all the good things about the family fell from grace. You might ask how? Well, the winds of change began to blow in the Vallow family sometime around 2017. Something was different. Something had changed. Laurie's friends and relatives could feel it in the air, but they couldn't quite put their finger on it. Some said it all started with Laurie's newfound obsession with the doomsday prophecies of Chad Daybell. The Idaho-based author had penned several books on the end of the world and preparing for the apocalypse. Laurie's friends claimed that she couldn't get enough of his writings and was often seen with her nose buried in his books, but it was brushed off as another dystopian obsession, if only it was just that. Somewhere in 2018, things took a turn for the worse when Laurie actually met Chad Daybell. Her friends say there was an instant connection between the two and they began doing religious podcasts together. Their connection wasn't just two people agreeing on an ideology, it was much deeper and, as we will see, much darker too. However, there was just one problem. Chad was already married, and of course, Laurie was married also. Wow, these cheeky bastards, huh? Tammy Daybell, Chad's wife, was raising their 5 children together when Laurie and Chad started getting closer. And it wasn't long before rumors starting to swirl about the true nature of their relationship. And we all know how fast rumors spread, don't we? But it wasn't just their questionable romance that had people talking. Laurie's former friend, April Raymond, revealed in an interview with 48 Hours that Laurie had started referring to her own husband, Charles Vallow, as a demon. And that was part of her beliefs. She had some weird belief about demons and zombies. And if that wasn't enough, Laurie and Chad were also overheard discussing the topic of zombies. Not those regular brain munchers, but people whose souls were taken over by dark spirits. As 2019 dawned, the ominous clouds that had been gathering around Laurie Vallow and her family grew even darker. Charles Vallow, Laurie's then husband, had become increasingly concerned about her erratic behavior. In February of that year, Charles took action and filed for divorce from Laurie, citing her extreme religious views as the main reason. And this brings us on to reason number 1. Remember I told you I had 5 reasons? Reason number 1, purpose. To me, Laurie had no purpose. She was seeking something edgy, something dark, something exciting. And due to her own predisposition, the teachings of Chad, I say teachings very loosely, is what, tickled her feathers. But as we will learn, if you play with feathers, you get your ass tickled. Her husband feared for his own safety as well as that of their adopted son, Joshua Jackson Vallow. In the divorce papers, Charles alleged that Laurie believed she was assigned by God to to carry out the work of the 144,000 at Christ's second coming, which was set to occur in July 2020. This brings us on to reason number 2, self-aggrandizing. She thought she was so special, she was so important, that God chose her to carry out this mission, this message, whatever you want to call it. You see how the first two are linked? One, she had no purpose, so she gave herself purpose in this exciting new thing that she found. And then at the same time, she evolved the belief in telling herself, oh my God, I'm so special. I have to do this. God chose me. I mean, I'm a religious guy myself. I am a Muslim. I have studied Christianity, Judaism, all the religions, right? I have great respect for all of them. What none of them do is tell you when something is going to happen. So this second coming in July 2020 or whatever it was, mate, if you're going to make shit up, do it properly at least. Her husband even claimed that if he got in her way, she would not hesitate to murder him. The divorce proceedings were just the beginning of a downward spiral that would soon engulf the Vallow family. July of 2019 was a time of heartbreak and tragedy for the Vallow family. In July, Charles Vallow went to drop off his son JJ at Lori's home in Chandler, Arizona, but he never made it out alive. Lori's brother, Alex Cox, shot and killed Charles, claiming it was in self-defense. Lori and Tylee were both there at the same time and told similar stories of what had happened. The investigation into Charles' death was just the beginning, but the darkness that surrounded Lori and her family was only getting thicker. On September the 5th, 2019, shortly after the shooting, Lori moved with her 2 children to Rexburg, Idaho, getting closer to Chad Daybell, the doomsday author with whom she had become close. Her brother, Alex Cox, moved into the same apartment complex as well. Lori claimed that she had to move quickly because of a new job opportunity out of state, but the truth behind the sudden move was her apocalyptic savior. As the summer turned into fall, dominoes started falling. Tylee, Lori's teenage daughter, vanished without a trace on September the 8th, 2019. The last known image of her was taken on a day trip to Yellowstone National Park with Lori, JJ, and Alex Cox. According to Melanie Gibb, a friend of Lori's, Lori had referred to Tylee as a zombie, and we all remember what that means in her world, a dark spirit. As the investigation into Lori Vallow's missing children continued, another tragedy struck the family of Chad Daybell. On October the 19th, 2019, Chad's wife, Tammy Daybell, died in her sleep. Despite concerns raised by her children, an autopsy was not performed, and the manner of death was initially ruled as natural causes. It would, a while later, when the suspicion grew around Lori and Chad's involvement in the children's disappearance, that police will realize that Tammy's death was not natural and declare it suspicious. But before the hell broke loose, Lori and Chad's honeymoon period began, literally. Just 2 weeks after Tammy's death, Lori and Chad tied the knot on a Hawaiian beach. 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks. I've slept longer than 2 weeks. This shocking development came 4 months after the fatal shooting of Lori's ex-husband, Charles Vallow. The death of their spouses suddenly seemed too convenient if one had paid attention. Adding to the confusion and fear was JJ's grandmother, Kay Woodcock, who grew increasingly concerned about his welfare as she had not heard from him in months. She contacted the police to check on him, and finally the ears of the police perked up. It all started with a routine visit to Lori Vallow Daybell's home by Rexburg police on November the 26th, 2019. Searching for JJ, Lori lied to them, claiming that JJ was safe and staying in Arizona with her friend Melanie Gibb. Melanie, however, called the police and told them JJ was never with me. A nationwide search for the children was launched, and JJ's grandparents even offered a hefty $20,000 reward for any useful information. As the investigation intensified, police uncovered more troubling details. Lori and Chad Daybell, the couple at the center of this investigation, had abruptly left their home and disappeared. Police believed that the lives of Joshua and Tylee were in danger and accused Lori of refusing to cooperate with law enforcement. The situation was looking more and more grim with each passing day. In December 2019, things took an even more sinister turn. Fremont County Sheriff's investigators finally grew suspicious about Tammy Daybell's death and decided to exhume her body to conduct an autopsy. But the results were not released immediately. What happened to Tammy? Well, keep watching, wait and find out. Meanwhile, Lori's brother Alex Cox was found dead in Arizona. He was discovered unresponsive in the bathroom of the residence he shared with his new wife. It was eventually determined that Cox's cause of death was bilateral pulmonary thromboembolism. I don't know how to say that word, so I'll just put it on the screen. Thromboembolism. Blech. And the manner of death was natural, but it started to spiral downward, with the court order requesting Lori to produce her children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. When she failed to comply, she was arrested and extradited to Idaho from Hawaii. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Lori and Chad were not being open with the information about the whereabouts of the children. There was an air of mystery as two of Lori's lawyers withdrew from her defense, and her remaining attorney filed a motion seeking the removal of the judge. Why? Was he a zombie too? Everyone around Lori and Chad was either dying, vanishing into thin air, or running away. It was not until June 2020 that the horrifying truth was finally revealed. The authorities descended upon Chad Daybell's property with a mission to uncover any evidence that could shed light on the whereabouts of the missing children. The backyard was the focus of their attention, and they started digging in areas where Alex Cox's cell phone had pinged in September 2019, and then they found something unimaginable. The remains of JJ Vallow, a 7-year-old boy with autism, was buried under a tree, wrapped in plastic and bound by duct tape. Tylee Ryan, a 17-year-old girl, was buried in the Daybell's pet cemetery, dismembered and burned. The discovery sent shockwaves throughout the community and the country and raised many questions. Why did the children end up on Chad Daybell's property? What led to their deaths? And where was Lori Vallow Daybell, the mother of the missing children? This brings me on to step number 3. Both of these, they're not some kind of religious leaders, masterminds. Like, if you're going to have a cult, right, so to speak, like a cult I use loosely, but just bear with me for a second. If you have a cult, you have a message that you normally give. There's an ideology that you believe in. What was their message? So reason number 3, they were just a bunch of muppets. And I assure you, never underestimate the power of stupidity. In May 2021, Chad Daybell was arrested and charged with 2 counts of destruction, alteration, and concealment of evidence, and 2 counts of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. Lori Vallow Daybell was also charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. But that was not all. Chad Daybell was also charged with murdering his first wife, Tammy Daybell. It seems that death follows this couple wherever they go, or perhaps they worship death. When Chad Daybell appeared in court in June 2021, he pleaded not guilty to all charges with audacity that will only surprise you. Lori Vallow Daybell, on the other hand, was ruled incompetent to stand trial for conspiring to murder Charles Vallow, her ex-husband. But the horror did not end there. Chad Daybell's children have defended their father, claiming he was framed for the murders. Thankfully, the justice system was not as delusional, and in August 2021, prosecutors announced that they will be seeking the death penalty against Chad Daybell. However, Lori Vallow's mental state was called into question, and she was committed to a psychiatric ward in June 2021. But in April 2022, a judge declared that she was mentally fit to stand trial, and the trial began on April 3rd, 2023. In a twist of fate, it was also revealed that Lori was separately charged in Arizona with the murder of her ex-husband, Charles Vallow. This revelation only added to the already chilling case and raised more questions about Lori's motives. How long had she been planning all of this? Did it all actually begin with one book? In March 2023, a judge ruled that Lori would not face the death penalty in her murder trial. Her lawyers claimed that the media attention surrounding the case would taint the juror pool and refer to Lori as a mentally ill person. I've seen that a few times in other cases where there's quite a famous case, it's quite a nationwide case, so they defense will claim, well, the jury is going to have some kind of biases. It's kind of condescending to the jury, because what you're actually trying to say is, well, this jury is so dumb, they're just going to listen to the media and not listen to the case. But this brings me on to reason number 4. This was her fantasy. I mean, think about this, right? What's your fantasy? Fantasy doesn't have to be something sexual, but a fantasy is something that you think about all the time, a goal that you hope to achieve, or a vision of life that you hope to have. This silly cow, for some reason, was so smitten by this fucking moron Chad that the idea of getting rid of her family, running away with this muppet, and living some kind of uh I don't want to say doomsday prophecy, but some kind of, it's as if she's like a, it's as if in her mind this was like a summer blockbuster movie where at the end she kind of had to save the world. It ties into my other point of feeling some kind of importance, but she found this all exciting. She found it fantastical. Now, obviously, I'm not a psychiatrist, which is why I use terms like a moron, because she is just a moron. She's just an idiot. Nothing special about her. There's nothing mentally ill about her. She was just bored. On a separate note, I live in Washington, D.C., right? Why does all this wacky shit happen out west? What the hell is going on? Lori Vallow's trial had been filled with chilling testimonies and shocking revelations. During opening statements, the prosecuting attorney claimed that Lori would stop at nothing to get what she wanted, to remove any obstacle in her way. And of course, the proof is in her actions. The cause of Tammy Daybell's death was also revealed to be asphyxiation. So what does that mean? It means she was suffocated to death, not natural causes as mentioned previously. Detective Ray Hermosillo, his testimony was perhaps the most grisly of all, as he detailed the day he found the remains of JJ and Tylee on Chad Daybell's property. Hermosillo recounted how investigators uncovered bits and pieces of Tylee's burned remains, including charred flesh and bone. Zulema Pastanez, the wife of Alex Cox, also gave a haunting testimony. She revealed the night before Cox died, in December 2019, he was on the phone with Lori and Chad, who were telling him that Tammy's body was being exhumed. When Pastanez asked Cox if he was involved in Tammy's death, he replied that he thought he was being their fall guy. The next day, Cox was dead. But the fall guy for what? In the third week of testimony, Lori's surviving son, Colby Ryan, took the stand and emotionally broke down when shown pictures of his deceased siblings. He testified that his mother had changed after meeting her fifth husband, Chad Daybell. 5 husbands? Huh? And that he never thought she could harm someone until then. Testimony also revealed just days after JJ and Tylee disappeared, Chad Daybell lied to a realtor in Hawaii, claiming that he and Lori had no pets or children. He did this via email, and it was sent despite the fact that the children had vanished just weeks before and were not confirmed dead by the authorities at that time. The email raised chilling questions about what the couple knew and when they knew it. In recent testimony, Chandler homicide detective Cassandra Yinclan revealed Lori's seemingly emotionless reaction to the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. Despite being the one to deliver the death notification, Lori repeatedly showed little emotion, appearing calm and even laughing at one point. Yinclan's testimony provided further insight into Lori's behavior leading up to the discovery of Tylee and JJ's remains on Chad's Idaho property. Forensic pathologist Dr. Garth Warren also testified and revealed the horrifying cause of JJ's death. He stated that the young boy was asphyxiated with a plastic bag and duct tape over his mouth, a tragic and chilling revelation that left many in shock. Tylee's cause of death, however, remains undetermined, with Warren stating that they were unable to find any evidence of bullets or knife fragments in her remains. Now, on April the 27th, the jury was informed that Tylee's DNA was found on tools discovered on Chad Daybell's property. Idaho State Police forensic biologist Catherine Dace revealed that the DNA was found on a pickaxe and a shovel, sending shivers down the spines of those in attendance. And the cherry on top, the following day, forensic scientist Tara Martinez took the stand to reveal that Alex Cox's fingerprints were found on a piece of plastic that was recovered with JJ's remains. The plastic and duct tape were tested, and usable prints were found on a piece of the plastic, a detail that will undoubtedly play a significant role in this ongoing trial. His fingerprints also connect the dots of him being fearful of being the fall guy. As the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell continues, the evidence presented to the jury is both heartbreaking and terrifying. The deaths of two innocent children have revealed a web of lies, deceit, and manipulation that has shocked the nation and the world all at the same time. So the question remains, what truly happened to Tylee and JJ? With each new development, the case becomes more and more chilling, leaving many to wonder what other horrors will be uncovered in the weeks to come. And this brings me on to the final reason: no accountability. Any kind of religious belief, from what I know, has accountability, right? Either in the afterlife or in this life. When I die, I'm accountable to God. And with accountability, there's reward and punishment. So the idea is you act in accordance to the reward and punishment. But these two morons, these two doomsday frauds, if I may, they don't feel any accountability for their actions, because everything they said, everything they did was just a smokescreen for their own fantasies. Again, a psychologist can describe their condition in far more elegant details than I can. But to conclude, all I see is two horny bastards just bored with their lives and needing some kind of purpose. Comment, tell me what you think.